Hello, welcome back to the Spectrasonics Omnisphere tutorial. We're having a look at all the various oscillator zoom options, and today we're going to deal with Unison. Once again, a completely initialized patch. This is exactly what it looks like coming right out of the box, and from our regular sawtooth wave, as soon as we turn Unison on, we get something very not regular indeed. Now the interface in the Unison module in Omnisphere is quite lovely. It tells you really visually what it's doing. But it doesn't matter if you turn everything down to the absolute minimum possible setting. As soon as you turn this thing on, it's doing something. Now what it's doing is making multiple copies of the wave and slightly offsetting them in various different directions. And one aspect in which it does that is it's almost hidden. I've got no idea where they've made this control so small. It really annoys me because it's difficult to access. This is a phase option. You might just be able to see that this is like fully out of phase. It's indicating that the copies of the waves that are made are going to be maximally offset in phase. If I click this little down button, now they're all in phase. And what that means is that if I make 5 copies of a wave and play them all at the same time, you're going to get this kind of pretty harsh sound as they all trigger simultaneously. You get this kind of compressed kind of thump at the beginning of the sound. Whereas if we set them out of phase with each other, by randomly clicking this tiny little button until it damn well does what you want it to, the effect when the key is first hit is significantly diminished because all of these waves are now drawing at different points in their phase period, and so we don't have this brutal all of the waves playing at the same time thing. And there are 1, 2, 3, I think there are 5 different phase options available to you over here. Just beware that it's there. Then we've got a depth slider. So this is the shape of the wave. That looks like that, just zoomed in. But when we turn it on and start increasing the depth, you're going to get an increasing number of different identical versions of the oscillator get played. Unison has a very severe CPU overhead, so if you're not using a powerful machine, beware. This option has to be used with care because it's literally duplicating the wave multiple times. And as we increase the depth slider, you can see the additional waves start to appear, and you can also hear the harmonics of the wave enrich as all of these different copies of the wave start layering over the top of each other. This effect is called Unison Detune. Choruses and phases work by modulating the detune, the amount of detune of the second wave. And so you can get a similar kind of thing by doing that kind of thing, messing with the detune slider here. So that's varying over time the amount of pitch offset. See? And the magic. Now, if I set a really big detune, you're going to hear it, and quite soon it becomes fairly unpleasant. But at more subtle levels, it's really nice. Who am I to say what's nice or bad? You can make the detune much more severe. That sounded pretty cool then. Like I say, what do I know? Spread controls the stereo spacing of the waves, so by default with the spread set to minimum, it's basically mono, and as I increase this slider, you're going to hear a stereo effect kick in. This is where Unison really starts sounding very lovely. Sawtooths are beautiful. I knew it. We can also increase the octave spread of our unison tones. The fundamental pitch always stays the same. We're only affecting the copies. You can still hear that original C underneath. And in fact, you can see it. And here are all the copies being transposed by 2 octaves. See what I mean about the graphical interface? Great, lovely stuff. This analog slider here is directly equivalent to the one that we see in the main page. If I set this to maximum, head back over to the main page, analog is now at maximum. Bring this down to 50%, back into Unison, controls at 50%. So we've already dealt with that, I won't cover it again here. Drift emulates old analog synthesizers that do exactly that, so I've brought the tuner in to help me here. I've got drift set all the way down at the moment. When the note bottoms out, hovers around -6, -7-ish. I bring drift in and play the same note again. We start at -6, but it just wanders away and does its own sweet thing. I should just say as well that the phase control and analog and drift only apply to the synth oscillator. If we were dealing with a sample, I don't happen to have one, but there we go. Instead, and head back in, then we lose those options, they just disappear. Everything else is the same, everything else works, but we've lost phase, analog and drift. So that's the Unison page dealt with. This is one of the easier wins that you can score, something that you can turn on that almost always makes your sound better. It's been a staple of analog synthesizers for decades, this ability to have multiple versions of the oscillator slightly out of pitch. Slightly is the key word. If you push it too far, you're into a different kind of territory there. But at subtle levels, I think it's absolutely gorgeous. So highly recommended. Have a bit of a play with it. Improves almost everything. It's just going to hammer your PC. Beware of your CPU load. Thanks very much for watching. Hope to see you next time.